Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to another GTA Online video. My name is SaintsFan, and today the brand new Progen Emerus was released, and man, oh man, is it expensive. It is a whopping $2.75 million. One of, if not the most expensive cars that's a non-weaponized vehicle in the game. So in this video, we're going to be answering the question, is it worth it? Or hopefully at least I can give you guys enough information so you can determine for yourself if it is worth it. And I'm not going to lie, right off the bat, this thing has some really great things going for it, but then it has some really not great things going for it. And that's what we're going to be talking about. This thing, I feel like, is going to be one of those vehicles that people either love it or hate it. I don't think there's going to be many people sort of on the fence. Now, as always, let's start with customization and what comes with it. So for $2.75 million, you really don't actually get much customization. There's really not a whole lot of customization on this vehicle. I mean, you'll see, I'll just sort of speed through. We're not going in depth really in customization here, but you can just see the amount of options. It's not terrible. Like, there's definitely some cars in the game that have like zero customization. This one, you got some decent roof options, some spoiler options, some skirt options, right? You got a hood option, and you do have, I think it's like 11 or so liveries, but that customization, in my opinion, and granted, yes, that is subjective, it just doesn't look good. Like, the spoilers are kind of weird, the hood's kind of weird, the freaking skirts, I don't know what the hell they were doing with the skirts. The skirts like extend another 17 feet from this car. It feels like it's crazy. The bumpers as well. The bumpers like make the freaking front of the car go so much further than it needs to be. And just overall, the customization's not like what I was hoping for. And the liveries aren't really that good either. So while this does have some like okay, decent-ish customization, it's just none of it's good. Now, I will say some little unique features about this car. The rims, the stock rims, you can actually paint them by doing the glitch. They are paintable, although they're basically just slightly bigger Sport S-Racer rims. So if you don't want to go through the glitch, you can just put the S-Racer rims on. And they're actually beneficial, which we'll touch more when we get into the performance aspect. And then you can also glitch the spoiler off. So if you actually don't want a spoiler, there is a way, I believe, to get it off. But apart from that, like, the customization is really lacking. Now, you are seeing just the looks of the car. Talking about it, it's got some cool and unique features. I love the window, the double window on the doors. Now, it's unfortunate that if you do tint the windows, the normal windows, the bottom one gets tinted as well. But if you don't tint them, you can see straight through, and that's such an awesome and unique feature. I love that. One odd thing that isn't on this car is suspension. You cannot drop the suspension, which means it's relatively high. And that's not something that's like super noticeable unless you're really looking at it. But it's just something that you can do pretty much in every other supercar, but you can't lower the suspension on this one. And then, like, I don't know if this was an intentional choice because maybe the McLaren Senna looks like this in real life. I haven't really looked at the McLaren Senna too much. So if it's based, like, if this is kind of true to real life, I guess I understand. But some of these design choices just look so wrong. I don't know if it's just me, but when I was comparing this vehicle to some of the other sports cars, the engine just sticks out. Like, the front of this car sticks out so much. Or like the front wheels, they're so much further back, it feels like. And that was just super jarring, super weird, super odd to me. And I really do not like the look of it. And then again, going back to the skirts, I don't know why they decided to make these skirts like 3 feet wide. It just looks super awkward, super weird. And that, again, is subjective, but I just don't think the design choices were very well done on this vehicle. It's one of the few supercars that have come out recently that I just am not a fan of. Where I feel like when I look at pictures of the McLaren Senna in real life, I do like it, but in GT Online, I'm not liking it at all. So, all right, that's the customization, the looks of the car, some unique features. Again, that's like the entire motto of this car. We do some things great, but then we do some things weird. Now, as far as handling goes, again, it's such a weird car. This thing, it handles actually pretty well unless you try and use the brake. So it is hard to demonstrate this in gameplay, but if you ever do drive one of these, you'll sort of understand what I mean. You basically can't use the left trigger, the left brake, to stop your car or to turn your car. It is almost impossible to turn this car. It's actually, I think, impossible to turn this car 90 degrees just by holding the brake, unless you come to a complete stop. I don't know what causes that, but that's just such a weird feature on this car. You actually are basically required to use the handbrake if you want to turn relatively quickly while still having some sort of speed. And that's a bad thing because it does lead to more spin outs, but it's kind of also a good thing because it means that the car does drift and it will slide, and that's definitely fun when you're driving around. So that's one weird aspect about the handling. Another aspect about the handling is the fact that it's not the greatest when you go over those bumps. So you can see, I'm going to go over, I found that this strip, this sort of part of the map that I'm at near the custom shop in the like northern part of the city, this is where you'll definitely notice the bumpiness in the road. But going over it, you can see we're kind of going all over the place. It's not as crazy as the Italy GTO or even the Neo that came out recently, but it definitely has those tendencies to bounce all over the place. But one thing that you can do to alleviate this, and I just found out about this, don't know if it applies to every vehicle, but on this car it applies. You can actually change the rims. So that first way was with the stock rims. Now this next clip is going over that same part of road, but with off-road rims, because apparently off-road rims actually tone down the bounciness. Now you are still going to get some bounciness, but it's not as crazy. So that is something you can do. Now off-road rims are the best, but obviously they look the worst on the supercar. So you can maybe go to a sport rim or the SUV rims or something along those lines and see if any of those work. The high-end rims and the stock rims, that's the ones that make it super bouncy. So again, kind of a unique feature, but it's just weird. Overall though, as far as handling goes, I would say this is a pretty fun car to drive around. You'll see as we get to performance, this thing is super fast and super quick, so that's fun driving in free roam. And again, it's annoying that you have to use the handbrake, but using the handbrake allows you to slide around, and I just love sliding around, and it's a lot of fun. So handling, pretty cool. Just know there's some very weird features are parts about this vehicle. Now the main part, performance. How does this stack up? Title of this video is Best New Supercar, and it's actually, if not number one, it's number two. There's certain situations where it will be better in, which I'll get more into, but in this test, we're just going straight down this roadway. We have at the top left the new car, the Emerus. Top right, we have the Wagner, which was actually one of the best racing cars before this McLaren came out. We have the S80RR at the bottom left and the Dev S8 at the bottom right. And you can see, I mean, the Dev S8 at the bottom right and then the Progen Emerus at the top left are just kind of smoking these other two cars. And keep in mind, these other two cars were kind of top tier in this. Now, in the end, the Dev S8 does beat the Emerus in this straight line test by a little bit. So as far as like straight line racing goes, if you're doing some stunt tracks with a lot of just straights, then the Dev S8 actually is slightly better than the Emerus. But where the Emerus is actually a little bit better than the Dev S8 is the fact that I believe it's got a little better traction. So when you are turning and going through a lot of street corners and things like that, the Emerus is going to be a little quicker. But really, the Dev S8 and the McLaren are probably the two top tier supercars as far as performance goes. Now, I know some people who personally hate the look of the Dev S8, so if you're one of those people, then you may want to switch to this McLaren or this Progen Emerus if you like the look of it. I also know a ton of people who had previously the Wagner, because that was the top tier car for racing. And since this new Emerus kind of smokes it, people are selling their Wagner and getting this new one. Now, answering the question, sort of, should you buy it It's such a tough answer to give. I would honestly say no, just because of how much money this thing is. $2.75 million, and that doesn't include customization costs and upgrade costs. You're looking at $3+ million for the supercar. And again, it's slightly better than the Devastate 8 in certain situations, but it's not that much better. So it's not really worth a 2.8 mil. And again, it's got some very, very cool features, but some of those weird features kind of just detract from the awesomeness that this car could be. If I had to say what I would do, I would definitely wait until this thing goes for like 25-35% off in a couple of weeks, hopefully, because then you're looking at about maybe $2-ish million, and that's a lot more reasonable for a car that performs as well as this thing does. But I will say what's crazy, in a couple of weeks, there's going to be a new car, a new supercar that's even better than this car. So they're doing the same thing they did like 5 years ago, where they released the Osiris, which completely became the best supercar. And then a month later, they released the T20, which became the new best supercar. And both of those cars were like $2+ million. So they're kind of doing something similar. This Amorous, it's definitely, if not number one, number two by only a slight bit. But in like a couple of weeks, maybe a month, there's going to be a new one that beats it. So honestly, I would hold off on your money unless you like super like this car, the looks of it. If you have a Devastate 8, definitely wait. If not, you might want to buy it. But again, give it a month. And one, hopefully this will either be on sale, or two, you can get the next best one. So hopefully that answered some of your guys' questions regarding this vehicle. Let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think about this vehicle? Like, what are your thoughts on it? Like I said, it's just such a weird car. But thank you all for watching. Please drop the video a like. If you did enjoy, share it with your friends or whatever, so they know maybe not to waste their money on this vehicle. But thank you all, and as always, I will see you guys in the next one.